Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Before we get rolling on today's episode, I want to talk about a correction that I need to make. In the previous show, I stated that the upcoming MUFON symposium, where unearthly materials apparently taken from a object that's not from this planet are going to be revealed. It's not going to be in Las Vegas. It's going to be in Irving, Texas. I wanted to make that correction. I realized that just after I had uploaded that video, because I know someone who is personally going to be attending the MUFON symposium, and I was alerted to this, and then so I made that. I actually put a correction in the description for that episode. So yeah, it's not in Vegas. It's in Irving, Texas. As of course we are. I mean, they're going to be presenting stuff there that. Apparently 90% of materials, that 90% of these materials not of this earth doesn't match anything that we are aware of scientifically on this planet. So that should be a very interesting symposium for sure. And also, speaking of Vegas, on Friday, I want to talk about this. It's important. I uploaded a short on YouTube. I don't usually upload shorts. I only have a handful of them that I've ever put on there. But I did one on Friday, and it was meant to be satire. And it was called the Vegas Alien Government Edition. And basically, it was a satire on if the government ever had control of the Las Vegas video that the Kenmores filmed, and for some reason the government was compelled to release it to the public. It would have been released with redactions. So what I did was I took the video and I put black boxes and over areas that would have been very sensitive as far as the government's concerned, that would show aliens. And also I beeped out a lot of the discussion that was going on between the family members. But I just want to play it just so you see what I'm talking about here.
Diles, esto no son viendo para acá. Radicables. Con chocotelo, con chocotelo. Eso es muy. Eso es muy. Catelo. Todo con la. Y acá. Bien lucho. Se dolo.
Well, it was meant to be satire, but unfortunately there was a couple of people that put comments in there and they were flabbergasted. They couldn't believe that the government would have the audacity to do something like this. Well, that's because the government wouldn't have the audacity to do something like this. That wouldn't happen. Something like that would not happen. Just let's be clear. Because for one thing, let's think about this. I never thought that people would actually believe that, that the government would do something like that now, because I mean the video's already out there in the public. Everybody's seen it. It's so that's not possible. But a couple people thought that, wow, the government really did this. This really shows something, right? Well, yeah, no, all it was satire, just like some of the other satirical videos that I put out there every now and then. But that one there, I didn't want to leave it up there and have everyone thinking the government really did this, right? So, no, even though there would have been no reason for anyone to think that way, but obviously some people did. But, the reason I did that is because, as we all know, over the years, there's been some videos that the government has released, and there's some redactions in them, and things are blacked out. But more impressively are some of the documents, the UFO documents that the government has released throughout the decades, that you can't see anything in them, you can't read anything in them, because they're completely blacked out for the most part. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit. I actually went on Twitter a couple days ago and I asked about this. I inquired about what's the most blacked out document, and thank you Stan Walsky for pointing this out, Stan. He pointed out this document that John Greenwald from the Black Vault had obtained. This was from June 16th, 2020, for the Secretary of the Navy from the Director of Naval Intelligence Activity, and the subject was unidentified aerial phenomenon. And if, as you see, the first page, you can't read anything there because it's completely blacked out. And then you go to the second page, and you can't read anything there because everything is completely blacked out. And the third page is the same way. And the fourth page is the same way. I would say it looks to me like the government is trying to hide something, and that's what they do. When there's any sort of documentation that they release to the public on UFOs through FOIA, this is a lot of times what we get. And also, Stan, he pointed out a video that I had done on that I had released on September 4th, 2022, where I was talking about this, and that was with regard to redactions that the Navy had. There was some Navy UFO reports, and the redactions made them worthless, basically, because you couldn't even read them. And here's a segment from a video podcast that I did in September of 2022. I'll just play a little bit of this to give you the idea of how bad some of these documents are that get released from the government that have all these redactions in them. You can't even tell us what the shape of these objects. You can't tell us what were they observed doing. We're not allowed to know that. I mean, we're not growing up enough yet to know that. I mean, let's try to read some of these here. For instance, here's one. You get down into the meat of it here, where it's you can see all the how much of it's redacted. It's totally ridiculous. It says contact at blank to blank blank blank, estimated latitude longitude blank and blank, while at blank was blank object in blank blank. It made a few blank blank during the blank. Contact R blank blank, a lot of blank, and blank, more blank. The blank was set to blank. I mean, there's nothing here. What could you possibly get out of that? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know what's the point in this. What's the absolute? How does this help anything? And again, the only thing it does is it shows that they are seeing things out there. We'll go on to another one. Here's another Range Fowler debrief form. We'll get into the meat here toward the bottom. It says, acquired twice, both times from a long blank section here. Detected initially upon blank, blank, blank. Contact was blank, blank, blank. Lost track during execution of blank, blank, blank. Detected again after resuming flow to the southeast post blank, blank, blank. Traffic would blank, blank, blank. Then you can go on, it just, you go on to, there's another page here that you could check out. Beyond that, just more blanks. I mean, look at this. Acquired twice, both times from blank, blank, blank. Detected initially upon blank, blank, blank. And blank. Lost track during execution of blank. Detected again after resuming flow to the northeast. Pos blank, and then a big couple of lines worth of blank, would occasionally blank, more lines of blank, drop aggressively in altitude blank, never gained blank or blank again for remainder of flight. Now, come on, that's nothing. That's we're not getting anything here. Here's another one. Look at this. Acquired blank blank at blank and blank during exit of directed wingman of... Look at this. This is gobbledygook. There's nothing here. Contact appeared to blank. Winds north at nearly 100 kts. Object was blank. Wow. And then it continues. Look at acquired blank, blank, MSLA blank during exit of blank. Directed wingman to blank. Initiated to allow blank. Closest point of approach was blank, unable to blank. There's nothing here. I mean, you can't really. All you could tell is that they were seeing something, right? The word in some of the word UAP is mentioned here sometimes, but for the most part, there's nothing there. You can't get anything out of it. I mean, this is like treating us like a bunch of idiots. Now, I'm certain. Okay, I'll say this. I'm certain that Other people out there could look into this and come up with an analysis of this. I'm sure that John Greenwald over at the Black Vault will, at some point, if he hasn't already, I haven't checked his channel out, lately. But if he, I'm sure he'll look at these documents and explain why what the meaning of all these redacted sections, because some of them have little letters and numbers in it, and he'll explain to you why. I can tell you why without even doing that, though. I mean, the reason is because they don't want you to see. They don't want you to know what the shapes are of these objects that they're seeing out there for some reason. I thought we were beyond that. Shouldn't we be past that already? Obviously, we're not. We're not beyond that yet. I mean, not only we can't see what the object. They don't. Every time the shape of the object is described, it's completely blacked out on all. If you go through all these 65 pages, of course I'll leave the link and you could check it out for yourself if you haven't already seen this. But I don't understand it. So you can't. Not only do you not see the shapes of the objects, they don't describe that at all. That's all redacted. But also what they're doing, how these objects are seen performing in the skies. They're like all of that's gone too. All right, we'll just stop it there. Okay, yeah, I agree with some of this. I still agree with some of the points that I was making in that show. Of course, I think I actually agree with all of it. But yeah, you can see like you can't, the operating characteristics, all of that seems to be blacked out in these documents. The shapes of the object, that's all blacked out. And this was, I think a couple years ago at that time, that's you're starting to wonder like why are we still playing this game? Because we're still 5 years past 2017 when those leaked Pentagon videos came out. Everyone's starting to open their eyes to the realization that we're not alone here. And now 5 years later, the government's still releasing all these documents that are blacked out. That's like they're trying to put Pandora back into the box here. And it seems like it's still going on today, as we all know. I mean, if you just think about Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of AARO, the stuff, and AARO itself. I mean, it's garbage. It's even worse as far as I can see. It's even worse than Blue Book. And then plus Sean Kirkpatrick lying. I mean, they're still lying to everyone about this. They don't want to tell the truth now. Even there's been efforts to prevent legislation from getting passed. I mean, the people who in Congress who are controlled by people who are with the defense contractors are making it harder for Congress to do anything about this. I mean, it should be a done deal, and of course. Recently, as on June 11th of this month, I sent that letter to the Pentagon. Of course, I have not received any comment back. I mean, I don't know what they would possibly say. Like they would either they're probably never going to say anything, but hey, you never know. Still give them some more time. But I don't know what they could say other than agree with it, because there's no other explanation. Actually, there is no other explanation for it, and like any other explanation, that would be able to easily be refuted. There's just no way that anyone's ever going to be able to disprove what happened in Vegas back in April 30th / May 1st, 2023. It's just not going to happen. And I laid it all out in that letter that I sent to the Pentagon, and there's no response yet. Because they don't want to talk about this, and there's no excuse now either, because I sent it. I mean, it was addressed to Lloyd Austin along with Kathleen Hicks, the Secretary of Defense, along with the Deputy Secretary of Defense. They have to know about this, and they have to know that there are some people, not a lot of people, because this story isn't still, even though it's been on some mainstream outlets, it's still not as widely known as it should be. But they know now, those people are aware that there's people out here in this country who have actual evidence that shows that there's something here. There's no question about it now, right? But they have not responded. So if they try to respond and provide us with another mogul balloon / crash test anthropomorphic dummies kind of stuff, that's not going to work this time. That's not going to work this time. It can't work. They can't, any kind of story like that's not going to work this time. It just won't. So that's not going to happen. So they're probably not going to say anything unless, because the only if they say anything about it, right, it would be because they're going to tell the truth finally, or they're going to at least acknowledge some of it. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, you got to be somewhat optimistic. I have to be optimistic myself sometimes. I try to be anyway. And also, I know that it can't be. It's undebunkable. I did another satirical video last week with where I basically pointed out how Mick West last year he told Inside Edition that it could be raccoons or coyotes. I put a video together that clearly shows that it wasn't coyotes or raccoons, and that in fact that they're extraterrestrial / non-human intelligent beings. Whatever it was, it wasn't animals. It was some kind of creatures in there. There's no doubt about it. Mick West has not responded to this, and I don't expect him to. What's he going to possibly say? I mean, he already made a fool out of himself a couple years ago when he promoted that stupid Ariel School explanation about the magical traveling puppeteer troupe. I mean, that didn't go over well. I mean, a lot of even people that are diehard Mick West debunker fanatics, right? Even some of those people were upset with that one because they thought, wow, I can't agree with you here, Mick. That's a little bit silly. Yeah, because he thinks you're silly. I mean, there's a lot of people, debunkers out there. They think a lot of the other people out there are silly and stupid and dumb, and they know that they're going to, for a lot of them, they're going to believe anything that these people say to them. There's an effort, like I've talked about many times before, coming from different directions, from the government, from certain people who are scientifically minded, like Mick West, I don't know if he's connected with the government or not. I know a lot of people say he is. It doesn't matter, whatever the case, right? Some people might just be scared, whatever the case is, right? But they don't want this. They don't want the world to know for some reason. The whole world. They don't care about some of us, and they'll just point their finger at people like us, right, and say, "Oh, you're crackpots. That's all you are. You're crazy to think that kind of stuff." You know, I've heard that actually from certain people that, that are when they tell other people about, they believe in this stuff. Some people will say, "Oh, you must be a kook then," or things like that, which is that because still there's that stigma. That stigma is not completely gone yet until the government acknowledges it. That stigma is always going to be there, I think. At least a small. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, right? But there's always going to be some stigma associated with this until officialdom actually comes clean. And the way officialdom is going to have to come clean at some point, because, like I've talked about recently, there's just too much going on here, folks. There's too many things. Now you have MUFON coming in. It's going to slam them. I mean, they have all kinds of evidence that they're going to be presenting soon to the public, and it's getting out of hand. It's just getting out of hand. You have Kirkpatrick lying. You got those Peru creatures. There are more scientists. They're saying, they're not human. So I mean, there's all this stuff. It's just building up. It's building up. You got Lou Elizondo's book coming out in August. We all can't wait to see what's in there. Of course, obviously, what's there's going to be some things that he probably couldn't include in there, obviously, because it was held up for so long by that office of pre-publication to make sure that there's certain elements in there that aren't discussed publicly. They had to make sure of that. But I'm sure there's going to be some bombshells in there that are going to raise a lot of eyebrows across the whole spectrum here. But yeah, there's a strong effort still. I mean, there's a lot of people out there still fighting tooth and nail to tell you that there's nothing to this. Stephen Greenstreet, the debunker from the New York Post, every single day just about, this guy puts out tweets calling everybody in the UFO community crackpots and things like that. They're trying to basically it's all character assassination. That's what it is. But it's not going to work anymore for the rest of us. I mean, the more and more people that find out about some of these things, like, okay, MUFON's having this presentation where they're going to present material, they're going to show materials to the world that are apparently not from this planet, right? That could have to be, that's unidentifiable stuff, and that's big, that's huge. So as more and more of this information just keeps seeping into the public sphere, more people are going to start waking up to this as time goes on, and the government is going to be in a position where they're going to have to comment on this. And if they comment in a way that they commented on the Roswell incident, it's not going to go as well this time. I mean, this time they could come up with a book this thick. That's not going to mean anything, right? It's going to be laughed at. It's going to be they're going to be the ones who are going to look like fools, because it's going to those kind of things are going to get turned into mincemeat by UFO researchers that are really following this thing closely at this point. But it's just to so many of us out there, this whole cover-up is just so obvious at this point. It needs to come to an end already. It's out of hand. But anyway, I just want to talk about something else just that happened the other day. I was talking to a friend of mine, and who recently watched one of the presentations that I had put together with regard to the Vegas alien stuff, and he said he saw that, he was, yeah, this is it, this is very convincing. And then he said he looked into it a little bit more, and when he came across the story about just recently that appeared in News Nation where they had interviewed Angel, and he mentioned that they were having these poltergeist type of activities, and now they think it's demonic because there was a Bible that the page in their house, that the pages just start turning by itself, and that the cross was floating in the air by itself. And that my friend who I was talking to there, he goes, yeah, that made me wonder if it's all true now and stuff. And I was like, wait, I had to stop him. I was like, well, hold on a second. Okay, when you go back to the evidence of what happened, that doesn't matter. That's a shiny object, right? I had to explain this, and I saw this coming. I saw, and I talked about this in previous shows. The evidence is, there's nothing that could change the evidence now that with regard with what happened to that family on April 30th, May 1st of 2023. The evidence that doesn't. That's unchangeable now. You have the video evidence, you have their testimony, right? You have the 911 call, you have all of it. You have the weird way the meteor was acting, the sounds it made. There's just too much, right? There's just too much. But most of all, there's the imagery that is found in that video that shows alien creatures, right? That corroborates everything that the family was telling police that night, right? So it's a done deal. But what and I suggested this before. What this could be, what happens afterward here now, right? Because I think what will probably happen here is some sort of a mishap. Maybe our government shot that thing down that night, and a pod came down in that family's yard. We don't know. Maybe it was just a malfunction, and they needed to make a hard landing or whatever, right? But the aliens screwed up, I believe. I think that's what happened. Something screwed up, something malfunctioned. It was a technical issue, and that object had to come down and make a landing. And Angel said he heard what sounded like thousands of footsteps running in all different directions right when that thing came down. So, and now you have this story. And what it, to me is, I think that this could be some sort of a psyop engineered by the aliens themselves. I mean, you have to realize, if something is 1,000 years, 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 years more advanced than you are, they're going to know how to trick you. They're going to know everything about you. They're going to know what scares you. They're going to know everything about what your religious beliefs are. And they're going to use that against you. And I think that that's what happened here. That's very possible. I can't say with 100% certainty, but it could be. It could be, because look at the effect. I just talked to somebody who told me this, who was convinced of the evidence, but that story took a little bit away from him. It gave him a little bit of doubt, right? And that's exactly how it was designed to work. Don't fall for shiny objects. You need to think like an alien, right? They're way ahead of us, right? They're going to do things like this to trick us. Right, and that's a trick when you really think about it, right? So you tap into their fears, their religious beliefs. You make these things happen, and with the hope that they tell the rest of the world now, because this other information is already out there. The aliens don't want people to know that they're here, right? Just like our government doesn't, right? Probably both for differing reasons, right? But the aliens don't want us to know they're here and that they're up to something. So they'll try to make some people believe that it's demonic, right? Because some people will. Some people think, oh, they must be demonic. It's some kind of a spiritual thing if that's what's going on. That weren't aliens, right? And then other people are going to think, oh, they're just crazy or lying, or it must be a hoax now or something. There's something fishy about it now. I don't believe that part of it. So it sows doubt, and that's what you need to learn how to think like an alien, because they're going to do things like this to trick us. When you think this through, they would know more about us than we know about us. Just like we know more about how a dog is going to react than the dog itself knows, right, before it happens. There's just we have things figured out with some of the animals, some of the creatures around us that aren't as intelligent than they know about them, that they know of themselves. We know more about them than they know about themselves, just like those things know more about us than we know about us. That's what's going on here, and they could use that against us. They use their that's a giant advantage. It's a giant advantage, and that's what I think is possibly what was going on there with this poltergeist activity. It was the idea that you do these kind of things, and then this takes the rest of us off the scent. It puts some doubt in our heads. It makes us think it might be something else, and it works. I just had an example just played out for me in real life with somebody who doesn't really follow this stuff that much, but was convinced looking at it initially, but then a little bit of doubt went in his mind because of some of the statements that were made over a year later about these poltergeist activities. That's how it works. What a great thing! What a great advantage that is. And maybe I could be wrong. I don't know how. Maybe the government has some sort of ability to make these kind of weird things happen. I don't know, but I don't know if the government would do something like that. I wouldn't put it past them. The way they act, the way they keep hanging on tooth and nail to this stuff. They just don't want, they don't want people to. They don't want people to know about this. Still, there's that segment in the government that's holding on. So yeah, there's two different things I want to say here today. Basically, I think you need this. People, in the UFO community too, don't be fooled by sometimes some of these stories sound so absurd, like you have trouble believing them. It's trouble believing it, even for people who know that it's true. I've had my own experiences. I saw a creature when I was a kid. I saw a flying saucer when I was a young adult, and then, or whatever it was, that weird object flying around. And I had another strange experience when I was in Hawaii that I have no explanation for, where a dog disappeared and then reappeared 2.5 hours later under very mysterious circumstances. I know that there's something here because I had those things, and it would be very difficult for me to ever change that my thought process now because of those personal experiences. But for someone who doesn't have those personal experiences, right? And even when you're presented proof that's absolute, that there's no turning back, that shows you to your face that there was something there, that there's aliens, we have proof of it now, right? Even when something like that is presented to someone who didn't have an experience, there's always there's ways to sow doubt in someone's mind, and that's, I think, the aliens could possibly have been a psyop by them to try to cover this thing up, to try to make people think in a different direction, to have their thought process going in a different direction. So you have really, in a way, you have to think like an alien, like the CIA, right? And avoid the shiny objects. The shiny object in this case is all this stuff is true, yeah, but what about this though? Now he's saying the Bible pages are turning by itself and the cross is floating up by itself, and now they all think it's demonic. See, that's the shiny object here. That's the steer us off the path here, off the path to the truth. That's what that is. That's what it is. Don't be fooled by it. Don't be fooled by it, because it does. And even put it this way, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if Angel just made this second story up. The other story most certainly happened, right? It most certainly happened. It doesn't change anything about what originally happened the year before. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And nobody, let me tell you, the silence is deafening. You're not going to get anyone, there's no debunker will dare. Mick West he won't even respond to this stuff. He won't touch it because he knows he's not going to lose. He's not going to win this argument. He's going to lose. I doubt the government responds. If they do, like I said, it would either be to acknowledge it and just come clean finally. But if anything beyond that, they're going to be debunked hard, and that's why I don't think they're going to respond at all, because obviously they want to. There's that element within there that wants to keep this locked down. But I have to ask myself, if you're if you're the Secretary of Defense, if you're Lloyd Austin, I mean, you have this information, this proof that's laying right in front of your face, and you're looking at it. And the jig is up, right? The jig is up as far as everyone should be concerned. He's the top of the heap in the Pentagon, right? I mean, that how does that reflect on him? By just pretending it's not real, pretending that we don't know about it now? Is that what he's gonna do? Just sit back and kick back and just not respond and just let everything just fly just like it is? It's whoever part of this control group, you would have to imagine this, right? Secretaries of Defense have to know about this. He has to know about this. In the event that something ever happens, a Secretary of Defense would have to know all about what's going on with this alien presence, right? They would have to know about it in the event something happens. And a president would have to know something too. All presidents have to be given something on this. They probably not all of it, but they have to be given enough so when the time comes, if that time ever does come and a big decision needs to be made, president has to be already aware of this. They can't just try to fill everything in within a 5-minute period when something happens at some point in the future. So they would have to know. But here's the thing. The thing is now is that we all do know, and the people that we have protecting this should be telling us, at least acknowledging this, because by not acknowledging it, there's all these other people out there who have these experiences and who have been ridiculed and made fun of and treated like fools for decades now. That needs to come to an end. That's one of the things that needs to come to an end, and that's why the government needs to do something. That's why they need to acknowledge this already and get it off their back. Right? They don't have to tell us everything, but they need to acknowledge it at least. At the very least, they need to acknowledge it. And maybe give us a trinket like Roswell. They need to do something instead of this obfuscation and this land of make-believe lying game that they keep playing here. That needs to come to an end. But yeah, the silence has been deafening. There's no way anyone's going to be able to debunk it. And then on the other side of this is you have the aliens playing some kind of games to sow doubt in people's minds about this. Or again, maybe I could be wrong about that. I'm not saying with 100% certainty. Or maybe it's the government, or maybe it's something else. But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. That story about the poltergeist stuff going on with the Kenmore family changes nothing about the other things that happened. It changes nothing. The evidence is there. You see it. There's stuff there's aliens in that video. There's no question about it. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And they're using some kind of a cloaking technology. There's no doubt about it. So that's where we are with all this stuff. And I think it's important to talk about it. Anyway, I want to move on. Here's another story I want to get into a little bit today. This was from Christopher Sharp with Liberation Times. Of course, he's always doing a great job keeping his fingers on the pulse of in Washington, D.C. But, he's been trying to get some answers regarding some of Sean Kirkpatrick's recent stunts and slip-ups. And here was an article from June 22nd. Lack of transparency surrounding United States government's... let me minimize this a little bit. Yes. Lack of transparency surrounding the United States government's former UAP office director raises concerns. So let's read about this and talk about it. He says here, the United States Department of Defense, DoD, cannot explain why the former director of its Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Office's prior involvement with UAP was not disclosed to the media and public at the time of his appointment or during his tenure. Recently, the DoD confirmed to Liberation Times that in 2018, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, attended a meeting on the Hill about Skinwalker Ranch, famed for its ties to UAP. A spokesperson from the Department of Defense told Liberation Times Kirkpatrick had no involvement with Skinwalker Ranch. He attended one meeting on the Hill in 2018, which he has publicly acknowledged. Liberation Times asked the DoD why Kirkpatrick's attendance was never previously made public and whether he had disclosed this fact before his appointment to the AARO. In response, a DoD spokesperson stated, "We cannot comment on the interviews that occurred during the hiring process, including what was or was not discussed during them. We do not comment on internal discussions and deliberations between a director and his staff, nor between a director and senior officials above him." Let me just stop there for a second. You getting the gist of this? You getting the gist of this? It's like, we can't tell you this, we can't tell you that. That's all it ever is, isn't it? We can't tell you this, we can't tell you that. We don't disclose those kind of things. We're not going to say anything about this. We can't tell you about that. Oh, you want that UFO document? Here it is. Look at all the blacked out. We can't tell you about it. Too bad. Oh, yeah, there's no such thing as aliens. By the way, here's another UFO document. It's all blacked out. Sorry. Isn't that what we're always getting? Are you sick of it? Aren't you sick of being lied to and being treated like a damn fool? Anyway, getting back to this. This situation is problematic for the DoD as the AARO's creation was supposed to begin a new chapter of transparency regarding the UAP topic with the United States government. Let me just pardon me for a second. Anyway, it is unclear whether the blame lies with the DoD for failing to disclose Kirkpatrick's involvement with the meeting or with Kirkpatrick himself, who may not have informed the DoD before taking the role. The situation also calls into question other aspects of Kirkpatrick's background and AARO's investigations, which may have also been omitted. His attendance of the meeting was in the public interest and is indicative of Kirkpatrick's awareness of the topic of UAP before joining AARO. A DoD briefing card regarding the establishment of AARO under its former guise of OMSG stated, "The department is committed to transparency with the Congress and the American people while balancing its obligation to protect classified information." Yep, they're committed to transparency. Okay, yeah. Even that, yeah, that's why that document about UFOs was so transparent. Transparent. Let me tell you how transparent it was. It was so transparent. It was so little told me so much. That's basically. I guess you could say it was transparent, right? Because you learned so much from so little. I was able to ascertain so much from so little. Even the AARO's own and much criticized UAP historical report released earlier this year referenced the lack of public trust in government regarding the UAP topic. It says here, polling data on public trust reflects Americans' changing views over time, according to the Pew Research Center. Polling on this topic began in 1958 when about 75% of Americans trusted the United States government to do the right thing almost always or most of the time. Since 2007, however, that figure has not risen above 30%. This lack of trust probably has contributed to the belief held by some subset of the United States population that the United States government has not been truthful regarding knowledge of extraterrestrial craft. I would believe that yes, that a portion of that mistrust is because of that for sure. Here was a comment from Jeremy Corbell. He says, what we are seeing is a clear pattern of obfuscation and lies by our government representatives. The omissions by Kirkpatrick are simply a symptom of the status quo. Our government doesn't want you to know about UFOs. Yes, you are completely correct, Jeremy. You are completely correct. They don't want you to know about UFOs. They want to keep it all a secret to themselves. They want the people to be stupid about it. We're all supposed to stand by and just wait for something to happen at some point in the future, apparently. We're not allowed to know the truth about this for some stupid reason. Because some people are worried. It comes down to a handful. Here's what it coming down to, folks, at this point, I think. Now some people will tell you, well, it's because of the panic it will cause. I don't believe that. Right? You know why? Because I've told people who didn't believe it before. I've shown them evidence, and now they've accepted it, but they're not panicking. They're living their lives like nothing happened. Right? I don't believe that at all, right? I don't believe that. It's because of this reverse engineering stuff, and because they're some of them are afraid they're going to end up in prison over this. That's what it is. It's all about personal stuff. It's about me stuff. It's not about everybody else. They don't care about everybody else. They only care about themselves. Somehow this whole thing got set up in a long past by something that was signed by somebody, right? Somewhere along the line, probably in the 50s, right? And for some reason it's still going today, and there's nothing anybody can do about it for some reason. And every Secretary of Defense just continues to go along with this nonsense. Come on, Lloyd, it's time to, break free of this. Lloyd Austin, what are you waiting for? What are you doing? I mean, come on. You could be the man that ends this nonsense. Let's get it over with. Let the rest of the world know already. Why keep it a secret just for a couple of people to feel comfortable about themselves and about their lives? What about the rest of us? What about the rest of the world? Kirkpatrick admitted his attendance at the meeting in an interview with Stephen Greenstreet of the New York Post, before then claiming the meeting occurred in 2017 and that Skinwalker Ranch was not referenced. That's when he got busted. And Greenstreet basically caused it. He was the one who caused it all. But it doesn't matter, because Greenstreet's right back to it again, just lying, telling lies, trying to make fools out of people in the UFO community like Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, all of them. That's all he does. He's like working. In some sense, it seems like he's working for the Pentagon. He's like, seems like he's a paid asset to them. But I think, who knows? I don't know. He says rotten things all the time. Doesn't acknowledge this reality that Kirkpatrick got caught lying. I mean, obviously we all know it, but the rest of where's the rest of the media on this? Where have they been? They haven't been talking about this. They could have easily pointed out that this was obviously a giant misstep by Kirkpatrick, and that Stephen Greenstreet was responsible for outing Kirkpatrick as a liar, right? But we're not getting that. We never get the truth from these people. All they do is lie and twist things, and they do it brazenly and boldly, because you know what? A lot of people, they know in their heads, right? A lot of people don't pay too much attention to this. They'll read a couple of sentences and then move on with their lives, and they'll go on believing that. They don't care that they're lying, right? They don't care. And they don't care. They don't care that you know it either. They don't care that you know it. That's what kind of people are. They're lying right to your face, like Stephen Greenstreet lies right to people's faces all the time. And he represents the New York Post. They don't care. They don't care if you know that they're lying, right? Just as long as the rest of the dummies don't know. That's all they're worried about. They're focused on the dummies. They don't care if you see it. They don't care. They don't care how much you talk about it either. It doesn't matter to them. They know there's going to be a contingent of people out there who are too stupid to look into it any further, and that's all they don't care about. That's all they're worried about. The New York Post publishes stories. I just was looking recently, just at a couple of stories that they had. I just want to see if they were true. They're not. If you do the research yourself, you'll find out that every story that's on here is a lie or it's a half-truth. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Kirkpatrick also later claimed he did not recall meeting Brandon Fugel at the meeting, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, and as we all know, that's complete nonsense. Fugel posted a picture of Kirkpatrick at the meeting. Fugel is seen in the picture presenting in front of Kirkpatrick, and Fugel later said it right out that Kirkpatrick is a liar, lying, saying he never attended a detailed formal briefing specifically on Skinwalker Ranch on April 19, 2018 to government officials. Lying, saying he has never met me. Lying, saying he had no interest in the UFO topic prior to 2022. And that goes on later on. It says here, Kirkpatrick's denial to Greenstreet of being interested in the UAP topic before 2022 has been indicated as being false as per information provided by Fugel. This calls into question all of AARO's claims and findings during Kirkpatrick's tenure, and that's what I've been beating the drum on. Everything is null and void. That whole AARO report is null and void because Kirkpatrick is untrustworthy and he's a liar. And we already knew that. I knew that. I didn't need this to happen, right, to know that he was lying. I read that historical records report, and I knew immediately that this was nonsense. And I knew even before that even came out because he was on that disinformation tour, as you know. He was prepping everybody for the big giant lies he was about to vomit onto all of us. Anyway, I'll leave the link for this article. Obviously, it's a very good article. Christopher Sharp does a fantastic job all the time with this. He really, more than anybody who's writing about this, he's the one. He's the one who really pays attention to it and has the best articles out there about what's going on with this cover-up and the efforts to end it. But yeah, we're all just tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the cover-up. I'm tired of the lies. And but hey, you know what? The good thing is, I think the silence that I have received from that letter that I sent, that's deafening. It's deafening. The silence I've received from the debunkers who are incapable and afraid to respond to it because they know that it's a losing cause. I mean, those people would have to look at that, and they would know after they looked at it, oh, well, it's over, right? But they're going to continue this anyway. They're going to continue this nonsense, this land of make-believe. It's like Mr. Rogers' land of make-believe with that little train running around, the little puppets, right? That's what it is. That's what they're doing. They're just playing stupid games, and so the rest of the world is in the dark about this. That's what they're doing. They're keeping the rest of the world in the dark. That's their mission for some reason. That's what the aliens seem what they want to do too. They want to keep everyone in the dark about this. It ain't the right time yet. Don't tell anybody. It ain't the right time yet. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.